There's a high level of aspiration. There's high level of hunger that people want to, work on. And the speed at which India is learning is unprecedented. Yeah, I mean, leaving cozy offices, starting on your own, buying 4 tables and chairs and starting something on your own, it never leaves your psyche. When you look at wanting to do something different, when you're wanting to innovate, you should be in position to disagree also. You should be in position to have an opinion also.
Welcome to GCC Unplugged, the podcast where we bring to you conversations with leaders who are shaping the global capability centers in India. And today we dive into the heart of industrial innovation, where sustainability, AI and engineering meet at a global scale. I am joined by Pankaj Vyas, the Managing Director and CEO of Siemens Technology and Services Private Limited, one of Siemens' largest global technology hubs headquartered right here in India. Thank you, Pankaj, for joining us.
Thank you, Saurav. Very glad to have this conversation.
Thank you. Okay, so first, I saw one of your pictures with NVIDIA CEO some time back. He was here in India. What conversations did you have with you?
Well, first of all, it was really an honor to meet him. It was very, very exciting conversation. He spent little more than 1 hour talking to few of the GCC leaders in India, right? And clearly, he's also seeing what everybody else is saying, what's happening here in India, especially in the context of GCCs. Right? So far, when we started the GCCs, the whole idea was really use the cost arbitrage and do a lot of back-end work and be an extended workforce. Right? But most of the GCCs have really transformed themselves into the front-facing things. When I say front-facing, it's really about the high-value work, right? And when you talk about high-value work, and especially in the context of what's happening with AI, definitely there's a whole lot of work that's around AI, not just using AI, but also building products using AI, right? So the whole conversation with Jensen was where he wanted to understand how can he help us to support stronger ecosystem here, right? To build basically abilities and the competencies which are required. So that was all about the conversation. And the most exciting part that I left with is what he's been hearing across India is so consistent. I mean, there are no discrepancies irrespective of the industries or the leaders that he's talking to. There's a high level of aspiration. There's high level of hunger that people want to, work on. And the speed at which India is learning is unprecedented. That has been a common theme across. So I could see that excitement that he went back with and acknowledgement of even I see when I meet a lot of fellow industry leaders.
You see that translated into anything coming to India from NVIDIA in kind of collaboration with the industry?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, in general, if you see, we are at global level, we are partnering with them, right? They are major ecosystem partners, right? So we are working with them to use their technology or a solution called Omniverse, right? To build the photorealistic industrial metaverse, right? So definitely that's in place. Specifically, what's coming to India, just from the NVIDIA perspective, I clearly see a big push coming towards, rather big enablement coming towards for GCCs and overall technology companies, where NVIDIA and companies like that will help us to democratize access to, high compute, like the GPUs and then things like that. So I really think the accessibility and availability for a compute like that, which is really at the core of doing AI, will continue to.
Let's go back in time a little and talk about you. And, what drew you to the world of engineering, and how has been your journey with Siemens in the past 5 or 6 years that you've been?
Yeah, so my kind of foray into the engineering really started with when I took up a role back in 2006-7 in Intel. To really head their low power wireless sensor operations.
And you were director.
Exactly. And then we spun it out and we had our own startup. We ran that for 11 years. And the product was really about doing a low power wireless chipset and the end-to-end IoT connectivity on a platform, right? And that solution was across industries, right? Be it healthcare, be it industrial, and infrastructure and mobility and everywhere, right? So one thing I could really see that these are the industries who are still waiting to adopt the latest of the technologies for very right reasons, that the margin of error or margin of anything going wrong is very close to zero in this industries, because they're all mission critical. You just cannot play around with things like that, right? And when I was kind of done with this startup, I got really excited about the opportunity for industries like this, where this all these emerging technologies can be infused and a whole lot of new value can be created based on that. So that's been my kind of foray into the engineering. And over last 5-6 years, even here at Siemens, I mean, it's really like music to my ears when I see that we are working on Siemens Xcelerator, which is really about creating open and interoperable systems, right? Which is really about connecting all the hard assets, be it industrial infrastructure or mobility, to the digital world, and really creating solutions which create real and digital world. So it's really about bringing engineering closer to the digital world, or as people would say, really working on IT and OT integration.
I'm really intrigued. You just said that you had a startup. So yeah, there is a bit of entrepreneurial, DNA. You tell us about it. What was it? And what happened to it in the venture?
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, so that was a venture that we started back in 2006. Okay, me and a couple of guys back in US. The thing was, we did not have a standard low power radio communication that time, which can be ultra low power, which can really be run on batteries, and that can help you connect at nooks and corners and places in this industries that we talked about. Then you can start sourcing the data. Because for you to do any kind of meaningful analysis, for you to do any kind of actionable, build any actionable intelligence, first you need the data, right? So the whole idea was to really create that product, right? So it was the ultra low power Wi-Fi chipsets to start with. Then we built our own cloud solution. We built our own mobile application. So eventually it was an end-to-end solution which was taken up across different industries, as I said, right? It went into wearables, it went into automotives, it went into things like air conditioning at home, it went into industrial assets, home automation, all of that. So we ran for about 11 years. We really solved very, very interesting problems there. Gladly we survived 2007-8. That was a big thing, surviving that, right? Eventually we exited that. It got sold to a company called Telit. Telit is a company that has a long-range communication solutions, largely cellular, and they had this gap of having something in the short range like Wi-Fi, and ours was really a Wi-Fi solution. So we exited that. So that was a kind of a journey, and one of the most exciting times of my life. I was younger, much younger, right? But I wouldn't say that I'm less older now. I'm still the same spirit. It doesn't go once it gets into you, right? But yeah, I mean, leaving cozy offices, starting on your own, buying 4 tables and chairs and starting something on your own, it never leaves your psyche.
And it's an experience which feeds you in for the rest of your life, probably. It's that kind of.
I think it just builds that undying hustle in you.
Yeah.
It just builds that, right? So it doesn't matter what setup you're putting, If I'm working at Siemens, I'm still same. So it's not like I'm working for a 175-year-old company and that means I'm going to behave differently, or I'm going to let my hustle kind of go to sleep, right? Or I let my wanting to innovate, wanting to push the things, that's not going to sleep that way.
Let's connect the two. So you've been here for 5 or 6 years now, and that hustle is there. So in this journey with Siemens, some of the pivotal points which really timber and your hustle blended it, changed something which really you're proud of.
Yeah. So, I joined late 2019, to be precise, in September. Okay. And of course, it was about 6,000 or 5,000 people organization, right? And we were definitely doing what we do, which is really about doing product development and services for all the businesses of Siemens AG. And we even had energy part of the Siemens AG pack there, right? Health India was a little separate. So when I walked in, like anyone should do, a sensible thing to do is just to make people understand what's going on. So first few days, I would say up to 100 days were really spent just talking and meeting people and trying to understand the pulse of the organization. As you said, the DNA of the organization, if I could call it, right? It happened. And clearly what I could sense is that there is this untapped hunger. There's this untapped aspiration that people have not touched yet. It's not lack of abilities. it was really that untapped aspiration which had to be, talked about, right? It was not a question of competency. It was really a question of infusing that courage to take that competency and start having conversations at different level, right? So what it was really missing, what I could sense, of course, collectively talking to the team, was a vision to what are we trying to even achieve here? Why do we exist? What's the objective, right? So the pivotal, I would say, one was that we really established a vision for ourselves that we want to be known the best value creators in Siemens, okay? But then we did not stop at that, because if we just stop at then people are like, okay, now what does it mean? So we said that's the what part of our vision. Then we got into the how part of the vision, and the how part was basically what do you focus on. So we figured out 4 kind of pillars or the areas to focus on. One was competency, second was collaboration, third was agility, and fourth was innovation. Again, we did not leave this as buzzwords. We did multiple clicks on it so that people understand now what do we mean by competency. It had to be redefined. So competency meant it's about, of course, you have to get better at what you're doing, but are you getting future ready also? So that was really part of our full competency part, right? Collaboration, especially in the context of Indian culture, don't want to sound racist or anything, but I'm just taking example of my own upbringing, right? It's like you're brought up to say yes to your parents, you're brought up to say yes to your teachers, then you say yes to your spouse, then you say yes to your kids, and that's your psyche. You say yes. I mean, you don't want to be agreeable, you want to be likable all the time. Nothing wrong with being likable, right? But when you look at wanting to do something different, when you're wanting to innovate, you should be in position to disagree also. You should be in position to have an opinion also. So our definition of collaboration in India was always about yes, right? But not really, collaborating in it very honestly. So we called it more like honest collaboration. And then the agility was more about not just the methodology, but state of mind. What do you operate with? Are you operating with a mind that I want to do things better and faster? How do I challenge the status quo? Not feel bad when somebody even points out what I can do differently. That was about agility. And innovation was really about demystifying what is innovation to can I innovate to really reaching a point where it's that anyone can innovate. So we really took that, and that was a pivotal, I would say, just getting into that. Then comes COVID. And what? So it's my life. So this was in like Jan. We established this vision and how and explain what do we mean. And by end of Feb or early March, like we have 6,000 people working from home. Now what? Correct. So that was really our test of commitment to the vision. And I'm so happy when I saw a year down the line, we had really moved multiple notches up on all the 4 areas. So that gave a lot of confidence that people are aligning to what we are trying to say here, right? What is that we want to do? So we had started that untapping the aspiration which was there in the team, and then it kind of took off. And then when Siemens Xcelerator as a platform, as an initiative got talked about or announced in Siemens, we were just so well positioned to take this whole digitalization ahead. And clearly where I see today, you talk about any digitalization project in Siemens, we are in it. And in some places, pretty much the whole ownership, complete ownership, right from conceptualization to solutions getting deployed. So those were, some of the moments that really helped me, that giving that kind of clarity, helping people with the vision, but not leaving it at that, giving more clarity, doing multiple clicks on how you go about it. And that kind of took it really forward.
I'll come to this end-to-end part. But before that, I would join the dots. I saw again you posting something on Youth Day, where you had something on the story. You spilled the youth. Yeah. Tell us about it. I think this what you're telling me about collaboration and thinking translates there, right?
Yeah, it does. I mean, thanks to my communications team and the team that really focuses on learning. They're the ones who really come up with all the great ideas like this, right? What excited me about there has multiple dimensions. One, definitely that you encourage culture of learning, because the more you talk about it, people more hear about it, and even if certain percentage of people start working on it, that's a win. So it's really about building culture of learning. Second is, when leadership goes and participates there, correct? Then it's like, you are part of it.
Correct.
You're not just sitting in some office and talking about it, but you're not there with the team. You're walking the talk, right? Third, being there with people, doing those tasks together, it breaks walls.
Yeah.
It breaks walls. It really creates that culture where people feel that, hey, look, guy is approachable. Leadership is accessible. We can have fun. He's comfortable failing in front of us. I mean, I can tell you, I fail on each of those tasks which you put there, right? Literally. But then it's fine. I mean, that's the whole idea, right? So I really think that really served multiple dimensions, and it's never a one event. It's always ongoing.
Yeah. No, definitely. It breaks, those ice walls that those are there. After preparing them, I think all the young people out there, there'll be much more in. And but once you're happy, it's not a job then. You're enjoying. I mean, you're having fun.
You're enjoying, and you believe that.
And then, but probably the returns are more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know what? It's like if you have multiple engines, right? Are they set in the right direction? They may all be firing, but if they're in different directions, you're not going to go anywhere, right? But things like this, it pretty much aligns. You all know that you're working towards common vision. You all are working towards a common goal here, and everybody's together in it. And nobody's shying away from saying, I don't know something. Nobody's shying away from being vulnerable. I mean, it's really being comfortable, being vulnerable, as they say, right? So I would say, events like this, they serve a lot of purpose, I would say. Yeah.
I look at the other point that you made was about end to end, from starting from making to deployment. Something that probably is happening in Siemens. What do you think of the overall larger GCC ecosystem? Is it happening there? Because one of the things, I don't want to sound an alarmist, but there are people who are talking about whether we are doing enough or not to future-proof ourselves, the GCC ecosystem. Do you think, because only cost arbitrage is that much, and I'll come to a different question on that too. But do you think the entire ecosystem doing the end-to-end delivery, from scratch to deployable, because that's something which will future-proof us?
It's hard to comment how many people or what's the percentage of GCCs are doing that, right? But my approach or my suggestion would be is that when you want to do something like that, first of all, it's a question of aspiration, right? It really starts with that aspiration, right? I mean, assume that you have an aspiration first of all.
And you have to be inspired also.
You have to have an aspiration, and you have to have a collective aspiration. That whole organization is also aspiring to be what we just talked about, moving up in the value chain, right? Then that really gets down to, is your learning happening with that purpose now? Just doing learning for the sake of saying, I have a culture of learning. It's not going to take us anywhere, right? So here at least I can tell you what we do. We call it as complete stack of learning. So it starts with tech know-how. Of course, you have to know the technology that you're working on. Second is a product know-how, where you should really also understand the products that are being shipped out, the products that you're working on. So you know the part of the big picture that you are in, right? Third is a domain know-how. Understand the domain nuances and intricacies which are involved in which these products are going to operate, and what does it solve. That's a domain know-how. Then fourth is a business acumen or a business know-how, as you might call it, right? When you start building this, then you talk about end-to-end. Otherwise, let's say at left, most of the requirements is really about saying what requirements will make sense. How do I even put together a product management office for a new product that I want to do? If you don't have a business know-how and a domain know-how, you're not well equipped to do that, right? Eventually, when you again say in between is all about, let's say, tech know-how, you're going to do that, right? You're going to have your practices and everything. Again comes to deployment. Do you understand the product know-how? Do you understand how customers eventually use it? How frequently you have to do the, let's say, CI/CD pipeline or things like that. So it really gets down to how complete your learning stack is. Now, how many GCCs are doing it? It's very hard to comment on it, but clearly the fact that GCCs are moving up in the value chain, it really tells me that more and more organizations are going for it. The other element that I think GCCs are focusing on is, one is that, like we talked about, doing end-to-end in a certain topic. Other GCCs are saying, can I have more of different businesses? That's a growing that way, right? I mean, saying, okay, I have this function, having another function, have another function. That's another way of growth, which is really about that's going to give you a lot more volume growth and all of that. But then both can be done simultaneously if you have a right leadership team, if your organization is geared up for that, because the ones which are set up, you can start getting into this kind of growth. The ones new which are setting up, you start at the experimentation phase rather.
Another thing which I want to understand from you is that there's a few that with agentic AI coming here. So why are GCCs here? That's because of cost arbitrage, right? Now with agentic AI probably coming in, that cost arbitrage might go down because someone might think, instead of 5,000 here, 500 in Mexico, same time zone, related culture. Do you buy that?
The jury's kind of still out. Okay, but what I would say is this is where all the GCCs, and not just GCCs, in general, the tech industry in India needs to understand this, right? The traditional way of learning is not going to help here, clearly, because we have never seen technology exponentially changing now. I mean, just growing at a pace which is challenging human speed of learning, right? It's clearly there. So you have to say the technology that's changing, can I start using the same technology to learn also now? That's going to kind of keep you ahead, right? Then eventually it all gets down to the kind of productivity outcome and impact you're going to create, right? If you are really well versed with the latest and greatest of technologies, when you know that you are going to have your people aware of how to make use of these technologies to have the productivity 3x, 5x up, right? Then the cost arbitrage is not a question here, right? So you still have an engineer in India, right, who would be much more productive, who would be innovating at much higher rate because that person got trained, that person also took initiative to learn and still have that advantage, right? So I really don't subscribe to this complete thing that we are gone with this, but at the same time, GCCs must not take future growth for granted.
That's true. Yeah, that's something I think is eventually coming off from conversations with leaders across industry. I mean, GCCs across industries. Again, what's the philosophy behind your 60-40 learning model? I think there is something. And how does it shape the talent transformation program around here?
Sure. It goes back to what I said, right? When we talked about the vision, the 4 areas, one area was the competency, right? And competency is really about investing in learning, but again, learning with purpose, right? So the purpose, it's twofold. One, how do I excel in what I do today? How do I have much higher productivity in what I'm doing today? That's really 60 to 70%. So you invest in that because you have deliverables, you have more work coming up, you want to keep moving up in the value chain there itself, right? So clearly you got to get better at that. So that was 60 to 70% learning is on those kind of topics, right? 30 to 40% is because we know the technology that's used today, right? Or the way we are solving the problems today, they are going to change in the future, and that ask will come our way, or even better, we should be the proponents of change. And for that, you spend that 30 to 40% on future ready technologies or the methodologies or the new ways of doing things. So that's what we talked about. Now, how is that helping in talent transformation is for productivity and learning topics, that's a lot of traditional way that we continue to do that. But the other one is really about what we started something called community of experts on the emerging areas. So we have community of experts on data and AI, we have one on cybersecurity, there's one on cloud, there's one on edge compute, right? And these are the senior people who know this, and they're across businesses. So the idea was, bring them together in one community, they are experts, and generate interest in the organization to subscribe to, you can be interested in more than one community of experts, go there, right? Learn from the experts, correct? And you also take the outside viewing. You also call people from outside who know a lot more than we do. And that's a reality. A lot of people, right? I mean, we come with a lot of domain and tech now, but there are a lot of, smart people out there. So we engage with the ecosystem to bring that know-how also. And that's the whole idea of having this 60-40 kind of, learning with purpose and keep keep getting better at what you do, keep getting ready for future. Don't let future come as a surprise to you, but try to be a driver of the future.
So probably they tie back to a earlier question where if they're learning, so even agentic AI coming in, probably there's
You are ready. Exactly, you're ready for the future. It doesn't come to you as a shock. Rather, you really transform that into as an opportunity for you because you're prepared to grab it with both hands and make great use of it. A clear example was the fact that we started training our people on AWS and data and AI and cloud and all of that about 4 years back, 5 years back. Rather, we started with AI. When the digitalization initiatives started taking more and more momentum in Siemens world, right? We were the front runners because we were prepared. We had our people who knew this, right? So when a discussion started, I could see our people taking lead on these topics, right? A very different conversation about 15 years back was different. And today when the digitalization topic started, our preparedness started paying the dividends there.
I'll put to something else. So there's another exciting example is an AI powered and displacement predictor. And what does that project tells us about applied AI in industrial settings? Because Siemens is mostly into industrial, and we talked about the AI, that how he is using AI.
Exactly. Yeah. See, AI in industrial settings has its own unique characteristics compared to AI in any other industry. For two very interesting reasons. First, if I have to tell you the amount of data an average smart manufacturing unit generates, it's close to 10 terabytes. Some people have said 5 terabytes also, I do. But it's a huge data, right? Which is equivalent to 4,000 HD movies being streamed. That's kind of data that you're talking about, right? Now, handling that kind of data, right? Processing that data, finding information out of it, finding actionable information out of it, and then building intelligence on top of it, right? That's what we're really talking about here, right? So industrial AI has a lot of nuances in that part. And extremely important part here is what is a good data and what's a data that is not worth processing. That's also very important. You can't just go and process terabytes of data, right? So that's one element of industrial AI, right? Second is when you want to build the AI models, you need data to say that if something happened like this is what you should do to trail, right? But then where do you get enough data to simulate failures? You're not going to get a whole lot of data for industrial plants going down or something happening in electrical grid which is untoward or unwanted, right? So there needs come for a whole lot of synthetic data to the place. Like so that's another place of industrial AI. If you look at, I don't know what the other AI would be called, non-industrial AI, let's say, right? You have enough data points for different situations that you can train your model with. But with industrial AI, it becomes very interesting.
Data.
So there's both. It's both about, knowing what data is useful and then, also use the synthetic data to do what we just talked about, right? Then there's a third element of using this AI in industrial world, deploying this AI, right? So in industrial world, on a factory plant, I can't afford to have a latency of few hundred milliseconds here. So I can't really say that, hey, you know what, I got a model, it's going to do a whole lot of inferencing and intelligence, but I'm going to put it on somewhere cloud and it's going to take few hundred milliseconds. Doesn't work, right? So then comes, what's the deployment? Then you have industrial edge. The edge compute that is going to sit on the shop floor, right? With optimal compute so that you get the kind of inferencing that you need, you get the kind of intelligence that you need. Your training of AI models can happen on cloud, but your intelligence engine, the inferencing engine, that still has to run on the industrial edge. So those are the unique kind of characteristics or the nuances involved in industrial AI.
Let's move to something else, which is something very close to my heart is which is academia, and you've built strong which is with Vex, I think your to your alma mater and ISCITs. You've launched dual training programs. What role do these Siemens play in these partnerships?
So the two questions here, right? One is why part, right? Why we will do this, correct? So as we looked at a lot of the young talent that you're bringing to the organization, correct? They still have this hunger for learning in a traditional way, earning higher degrees, and also that kind of builds their confidence further. And that also builds certain level of resilience. While you're working, if you're able to do a 2-year degree from place like Pilani, and you know that you're going to let go your weekends for 2 years, right? It's an amazing level of commitment and grit, correct? That kind of gets visible, right? So one of the reasons was a lot of this young talent which really had this hunger. That's one. So we really wanted to add to our whole culture of learning part. Second, we picked up the areas which were more relevant, right? So we have, let's say, masters in data and AI, right? Of course, masters in software engineering, but when we look at the curriculum, there are topics which are very relevant to, like cloud is there and the edge is there and all of that, right? So that's that, right? So that's a why part of why we engage here, right? Now, the role that we play, right? So when it comes to doing this master's program with Pilani, our role is to really look at the kind of curriculum we have right kind of people going for it, right? And once these people are done, what kind of work they want to do so that we kind of meet their aspirational needs also, right? With ISC, our engagement has been a whole lot on encouraging a lot of incubation. Okay. Again, with our one of the strategic priorities of technology with purpose, correct? So we are doing a lot of that kind of work with ISCs and IITs also for that matter, right? And also one area where we look at ISCs, IITs and the dual rate program that you talked about is how do we enable the ecosystem with the know-how that we have inside Siemens, with our products, technologies, and also our people. They go and engage with the people who are getting trained, who are doing incubation, and help them out on certain aspects. So that's the role that we play. One is more from building our own learning culture. Second is enabling these ecosystems, helping them on the incubation, and more importantly, going ahead and giving them the kind of product and technologies that we have and the know-how that our people have so that they can make progress in their own pursuits.
So, that actually explains a question that I thought I would have as a follow-up, because there is a divide. And the professors talked about it, that they don't know what exactly the industry is really requires. And that's why.
You're right. I mean, in a way, and that gap always exists. It always gets talked about, right? I mean, just imagine. So earlier what was happening was your technologies or domain knowledge was changing, industry was catching up faster, okay? And then academia used to catch up further, right? Now industry itself is struggling because these things have started moving so fast now, right? So now industry needs to first figure out what trends which is going to happen and make sure that they are catching up, and they also have to make sure that academia is getting ready with that, right? So the activities like what we do here, what I just talked about, it also helps getting ready the faculties with certain topics, bringing them awareness, what kind of curriculum we are looking at, and also helping again, with any infrastructure or technology that they can help with, right? Yeah. But it's going to get only, not that I want to sound, alarming, but it's, I think a lot more work is required on industry part to enable academia a lot more.
Yeah. And I think, imagine if today, having that gap, still we have the largest engineering talent in the world, which is ready to take on the world. Imagine if that gap shrinks. I mean, it only remain for us.
Yeah, I keep forgetting his numbers. My team keeps giving me these numbers, though, but I know it's more than 1 million or maybe 2 million STEM graduates every year that we get right out. Just because of this sample size, even if just put a small number being employable, that's still a huge number. But just imagine if that employable number percentage starts going up, coming from academia. Just imagine the amount of time industries will save, because the talent that's coming, it's going to be productive much sooner than what it is today. So you really have that whole productivity gain coming in. So it's about first employability, then there's a productivity, and then you have innovation. So if you can start shrinking these things, then you can even accelerate innovation coming out of India, because people are ready with much more know-how and industries don't have to spend much time on training people.
Okay. Fine question, Pankaj. What's keeping you curious these days?
Oh, so many things, not just one. I mean, clearly, if you talk about technology part, it's really about how the digitalization is driving the industries that we operate in, be it infrastructure, mobility, and then digital industries. So clearly, I'm really curious where this is shaping. and specifically for these industries, human-machine interface plays a big role, right? How we interact with machines.
Right.
And if intelligence is getting democratized, then machines also are starting to have their own ask, saying, why can't this intelligence come with me, right? So machines are kind of having their aspiration now to be more intelligent. And if machines become more intelligent, how humans are going to interact with that and what that can lead to. So I'm really curious about that part. On people part, I'm really curious how we see more and more boldness and more curiosity, building up overall in the talent in India.
All right. Thank you so much, Pankaj, for joining us. It was great talking to you.
Thank you so
Right.
much.
Thank you everyone for joining us. That was Pankaj Vyas from Siemens. We talked about AI, engineering, and how the world can change if the difference between academia and the industry can reduce, and how exciting things are there where now machines are demanding to become intelligent. Stay tuned. We'll come up with more episodes on GCC Unplugged.